Is the Sonicwall NSA 2700 the right firewall for your growing office, or are you better off with a cheaper box that only does basic packet filtering? Who will actually get value out of its next-generation features, and who should walk away before spending a premium on hardware they'll never use? And for the everyday buyer who just wants reliable internet protection, does the price make sense? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at mid-range firewalls, the biggest hesitation was the wait-you-pay-for-it trap. Many vendors throw in a list of buzzwords: TLS inspection, cloud management, wireless controller, without explaining how those tools fit into a real office workflow. I spent a few days reading the Sonicwall documentation, watching a couple of setup videos, and scrolling through community forums where IT admins talk about the day-to-day pain points they hit. The NSA 2700 kept popping up in conversations about sites that need to support a mix of on-site staff, remote workers, and a handful of Wi-Fi access points, so I decided to dig deeper. The first practical strength I noticed is the built-in wireless controller. Most small to medium businesses that buy a firewall end up adding a separate controller or a cloud-managed AP system later on, which means extra licenses, extra hardware racks, and extra points of failure. With the NSA 2700 you can plug in compatible Sonicwall access points and manage SIDs, client isolation, and rogue device detection from the same console you already use for firewall rules. For a shop with, say, 20 employees who need secure Wi-Fi in the conference room and the break area, that consolidation saves both time and money. Remote work is another area where this appliance shines. Sonicwall's Net Extender SSL VPN client is pre-installed on most corporate laptops, and the NSA 2700's configuration wizard walks you through setting up user groups, two-factor authentication, and split-tunnel policies. In a real-world test I ran, a remote engineer could connect from a coffee shop, access internal file shares, and still have the corporate web filter enforce safe browsing. The connection stayed stable even when the user switched from Wi-Fi to a 4G hotspot, which is something I've seen break on lower-end firewalls that can't handle the renegotiation gracefully. The cloud-based management layer also deserves a mention. Sonicwall's Capture Threat Protection service can be toggled on the fly, letting you push out updated signatures or enable deep packet inspection without touching the appliance's firmware. For an organization that can't afford a dedicated security analyst on staff, this offsite intelligence gives you a safety net that many competing devices lack unless you purchase a separate subscription. The on-box TLS/SSL decryption engine works hand-in-hand with the cloud service, so encrypted traffic that would normally slip past a standard firewall gets inspected for malware or data exfiltration. Now for the trade-offs. The NSA 2700 is definitely not a plug-and-play solution for someone who has never touched a firewall before. The initial setup, defining zones, crafting policies, and enabling SSL inspection requires a decent amount of networking knowledge. The web interface is comprehensive but can feel overwhelming. You'll spend a good half hour just locating the right menu for a simple rule change. If you're a solo freelancer with a single router and a handful of devices, you'll likely end up paying for features you'll never enable. Performance is another hidden cost. The appliance advertises next-generation throughput, but once you start enabling both SSL decryption and deep inspection on multiple VPN tunnels, the CPU load climbs quickly. In a test environment with 10 simultaneous Net Extender users streaming video over the VPN, I saw the throughput dip around 30% compared with the same traffic when SSL inspection was disabled. That isn't a deal-breaker for most SMBs, but it's something to keep in mind if your team relies heavily on encrypted SaaS applications while connected remotely. Price is where the line gets drawn for many buyers. The NSA 2700 sits in the upper mid-tier of Sonicwall's lineup, and you'll also need to factor in the annual subscription for threat intelligence if you want the full cloud protection suite. For a company that already has a modest security budget and needs the wireless controller and robust VPN support, the total cost of ownership evens out over a few years. If you're only after basic port filtering and a simple NAT gateway, a lower-cost model or even a Ubiquiti Edge router will meet your needs with a fraction of the expense. So who should actually buy the NSA 2700? Small to medium businesses with 20,100 employees, a mixed environment of wired and wireless devices, and at least a few remote workers will get the most bang for their buck. Companies that need to enforce compliance on encrypted traffic, think healthcare, finance, or any regulated industry, will appreciate the on-box TLS decryption and the cloud threat feeds. If you already have a separate wireless controller, a dedicated VPN concentrator, and a solid third-party firewall, the NSA 2700's all-in-one promise becomes less compelling. Who should skip it? Solo entrepreneurs, home offices, or very small teams that don't need a managed Wi-Fi solution or deep SSL inspection are better off with a cheaper firewall or a unified threat management appliance that matches their scale. Also,